One thing we do in personal financials is we discuss a lot of things that we can achieve in our journey or in our lifetime, right? We have a lot of articles on what we should do, what we can do, our options, our products, but I don't think it's often talked about are relatively small missteps or pitfalls that people can fall into quite easily while they're trying to go through their personal financial journey. So I want to discuss some of that with you today. These are things I've come across talking to dozens into the hundreds of people or Canadians that I've dealt with in my previous careers, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can avoid them or just minor things you can do to change them and better yourself, right? That's the point of this. So once again, my name's Aaron. This is Cozy Financial Planning, and I'm happy to bring you another video today. Let's get right into it. So one of the things is I've come with a list of 5. It's not comprehensive. Again, this is my personal experience. This is a bit of my opinion. And this isn't meant to be, this is the end all be all. There's definitely other ones that could be a thing. And if you occur something else, please leave a comment or send me a DM or something about it. And I'll happily discuss it in another video or with you individually. So we'll get to it. Number 5 is putting all of your money into your RRSP at the end of the month or onto your debt. It ends up being a vicious cycle that you get into sometimes, which is if you put all your extra money into RRSPs, it ends up being that when an emergency happens or you need new tires on your car or Christmas coming up, you want to take your money out again, which can trigger taxes and withholding taxes, and it doesn't give you a lot of leeway to what to do with. Yeah, it might be an emergency, you might really need it, and that's okay, but there's other options that we can do. Same as paying down debt, which is people are like, oh, I just want to put all my extra money on my debt, and then something comes up and you need to handle it, right? So again, paying something down on our car, and there's just an emergency, so you might have to do it. So you end up in a bad cycle where you're actually not paying anything down. The option for you in this case would be, if you have $100 left at the end of the month, don't just put it all on debt, and don't just put it all on your RSP or put it all on something that you can't really have access to. Split it up if you don't have an emergency fund and you don't really want to use credit cards continually, right? Or a line of credit. So you have goals, which is admirable, and it's great to have these things, but you need to be able to achieve them. So what you would do in my case is the $100, you can put $50 towards the debt if that's your number one goal. You can prioritize your goals and put the majority of your money towards that. So it could be $50 towards debt, $25 to your RSP, and then $25 towards an emergency fund. As time goes on, it's going to build up. The point isn't that, at the end of a year you have $300 in your emergency fund. It's that you have cash available to you. If something comes up, you're just going to use the cash, and then you're always going to continually still bring down that debt. That is the whole point, as well as your RSPs will go up if you're not touching them. It's a little slower than putting the $100 onto your RSP or $100 onto your debt. However, it's just going to spike back up or go back down in your RSPs when an emergency comes up and you need to deal with something. So we don't want to do those things. We want you to achieve your goals, even if it's a little slower, but you're going to feel really good when you use cash to pay for something, or the majority of cash and less on your credit card. So then your debt is always continually still going down, or your RSP is still going up. That is the point of everything, correct? Now we'll move on to number 4. So make sure you're invested. One of the most common things I've come across is a lot of people don't know what's going on with their investments. They just put money in their RSP. Often it's RSP season, they'll go to the bank, say, I need to put money in RSP, and the teller quickly puts it in something, or the person they're talking to just puts it into something, but then it's not properly invested. It's sitting in a money market mutual fund, which doesn't really gain interest. It's very little. It's a high interest RSP, which the banks love to sell. Again, it's not really invested in anything, right? RSPs are for long term. They should be set out a little differently for the majority of cases. Obviously, we can get to nitty-gritty of how to invest in RSP, but we want to make sure it's working. The money needs to be working for you. You worked very hard to earn it, and we want to make sure it's working for you. And the only way to do that is through making sure it's properly invested for your goals and for yourself. This also includes your work pension. You don't always have the most control over it, but a lot of people just take money from it. And first of all, though, you are making a great choice by using that. Usually you get matching proportions and stuff like that. But you also want to make sure it's invested properly too. You should align it with your goals and your other stuff, but again, I'm getting off topic. We're going down deeper role of work RSPs or work pensions. However, you still want to make sure that's invested too, and you just don't want to lose yourself in that stuff, right? You want to make sure you're always invested. All your money's working for you because it took you a very long time to earn it. You worked very hard to earn it, and it shouldn't just be sitting there essentially making the bank or institution, whoever you're with, extra money, because the velocity of money works, as in they're taking your money and they're lending it out, right? On your credit cards or whatever, and they're making crazy bank and interest off of it. So you want to make sure it's working for you. Number 3, so we're going into number 3 here. So one of the things is, it seems really simple, but creating a budget and review. Have you ever sat down, opened up your banking app, and gone through your previous purchases for a few months? Now, I know a lot of people right now are probably saying, no, I don't want to look at that because they just don't want to look at it because they don't want to actually look at their actual purchases, right? But you should. If you want to do personal financial planning for yourself, you don't want to talk to anyone, do anything else, even if you do talk to someone, they're going to want to know this information. You should look at it. Maybe you think you're spending $2 a day on coffee, but maybe in reality it's $10 a day. And that adds up after, $2 a day, 5 days a week is $10, $40 at the end of the month roughly. But $10 a day is $50 a week, $200 a month. That's a lot. That can be extra money put down on debt. That can be something else. You could easily carve that out to be 3 coffees a day. $6 a week instead. So instead of 10, you're saving 40%. That's a great step in the right direction. I generally don't recommend people to cut out and drastically change the lifestyle, like very specific situations. But for the most part, we need to adjust them and go from there. This is one way you can do that. Most people, the pitfall is they don't follow their budget, but they don't even create one. They don't even look back on their history of purchases. Just look and see how much money you're spending on gas, on entertainment, eating out, coffees, all that stuff, and you can adjust it. Maybe if you're buying treats for your dog on a regular basis, you're like, oh, it's just a treat at the pet store. Maybe you can change that a little bit. And I'm not saying drastically change it. There's a lot of needs we have, but look at all your subscriptions you pay for. Maybe it's $100 a month on subscriptions, Netflix, Prime. We don't get Hulu in Canada, but Netflix, Prime, Disney Plus, Spotify. That's $50, $60, $70 a month. You can easily modify and maybe just rotate them. Like, there are minor adjustments we can do with a budget. Now, number two goal is goal setting. This goes with the budget, a lot of it, and goes with what I said before, and I've said in other videos. Tie your money to a goal. It makes a big difference. High interest rates are just not, or high rate of return is just not always the goal. It may also not fit you as an individual. If you're averse to risk, something that's going to fluctuate on a regular basis is going to give you anxiety, stress, and it may not even lead to like medical complications of like not being able to sleep or eat properly. And changing your daily life for that type of stuff is not appropriate, right? You still have to work, you still have a family to take care of, you still have to function, right? And the best investment you could ever make, or the best rate of return you can have, is one that lets you sleep at night. Pretty simple, right? And that's one caveat to it, is set a goal. Sit down, write out your goals. Remember, this is financial planning. It's not always strictly black and white. It's not set in stone. You can modify it, but start somewhere. That is very important. Start somewhere. Write out your goals, write out your timeline, see what your kind of priority is. Think on it, think about it for a little bit. Go over a couple weeks. Pour yourself a glass of wine, talk to your spouse. Don't forget to include them if you have a spouse or you're with someone serious, long-term relationship. You should be talking about money. See what goals you align with and see if your time frames align, and see if you're already working on it already, or maybe you're double dipping into a goal that you guys can combine and possibly achieve already, and you didn't recognize it because there was no communication, or you didn't know it was a goal for your partner. And if you do have differences, and I'll tell you, a lot of people have differences, and I've sat across from people and they bickered at each other, and those are always interesting meetings. However, maybe you gotta have that conversation about why they differ, and maybe someone's gotta compromise. Maybe this doesn't have to be a 5-year goal, maybe it's a 10-year goal. Maybe that big expensive trip is 2 years away instead of 5 years, and you can figure stuff out, right? Goal setting doesn't have to be always retirement and house purchases. They can be smaller, going on a vacation, purchasing a car, helping your children for education, helping your children buy their first car. helping your child get married, or you want to set money aside from that, or you want to open a business. There's so many different things that we want to tie our money to, and our investment should be tied to that. If it's a short-term goal, don't go risky, right? We can look right now in April 2025, regarding the political landscape. We won't get too deep into it, but like, it's drastically fluctuating things on a regular basis, and you could have planned something in December and it totally drastically be different now. If you want to buy a house now and you had a down payment and you put in something high risk, there's a chance that it's not going to be ready for when you need it. And we don't want that. I never want my clients to feel bad about such things, right? It's not good, and I end up with not a client at the end of the day, and it's really, doesn't work out for me. Now I'm rambling, sorry I digress, but the number one goal kind of ties into a lot of things, is not doing anything. There's a lot of Canadians out there who say, yeah, I want to get a hold of my financials and my personal finance, and then they start researching, they start looking, and it's just this long list of things to do. Oh, my RSP, oh, my debt, what can I do? How can I buy a house? And there's so many opinions, there's so many articles, there's so many options, there's a lot of jargon, there's a lot of things out there. It's honestly, I used to tell clients all the time, it's why I have a job. I spend 8 hours a day, I spent tons of time researching things for them and to break it down and give them the best options for them, right? And that's why I kind of create the channels, because there is so much out there, and how can you tackle this on your own? And I want to give people breakdown of things and to start somewhere. And that is the key thing. The fact that you made a decision, though, is to do anything is amazing, because a lot of Canadians don't. And then you got to take it piece by piece. But don't be scared. Take a deep breath. Try not to get too overwhelmed. And if you are overwhelmed, take a break and come back to it and find to take it off in smaller chunks. The way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time, right? So you just got to do little by little, and that is the key thing. The pitfall is that people get overwhelmed and it paralyzes them, and they don't make decisions. They just leave and say, I'll get back to my investments later. Especially if they're comfortable in their job, their debt's manageable and stuff like that. They're living a good life. They don't need to really drastically change anything, but you can make minor things to make your life that much better, or maybe achieve your goal sooner. And that's what I want for people, is to feel good about themselves and feel good about their life and achieve their goals in a timely fashion. If your goal at the end of retirement is to have $100,000 a year in income, and you're at $85,000 based on projections, that's a good thing. Like, you're a little off, but you still have time usually to close that gap, or find ways to close that gap. And you won't do that if you don't try to do anything. Now, this would also include a caveat, little pro tip. Make sure you're doing your work stuff. If that overwhelms you and your personal investments, if you have an advisor, know someone, go to them and get them to do it for you, right? I did for my clients often, and the reason I did it, and it was unpaid, right? That's what my clients found so amazing, is that I would do it unpaid by taking a look at their work stuff and make sure it was aligned for them, or even just set up. I had clients that came to me and they're like, I don't even know what to do with this. Can you set it up? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it all. Don't worry, just give me the paperwork. And they were amazed, because they're like, I get $0 out of this because it's not with me, right? So, however, I did it because, one, we want to make sure that it's working, that my clients are getting something that's actually in effect. And two, it would be aligned with their other goals. So secretly it was for me in a way, because then I can make sure it's all working towards their goals in the best way possible. I don't have to correct anything. Now, I've kind of rambled, I've said a lot of things. I hope these helped you out, and these pitfalls, that you can manage them and take a look at yourself and self-evaluate and make some minor changes and try some of these out. Try the goal setting, try the budget, make sure stuff is invested, do something instead of nothing. Watching this video is doing something, so you're on the right path. And then put all your money, don't get into a bad cycle, right? Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or leave a comment on future videos if you like. Thanks for watching.